already. What's up, people? Is the audio good? You got red stream health. Everything's green on OBS. Freaking YouTube. Sounds good, looks good. I don't know. Maybe it'll change on its own. I haven't played with settings. I forget his name. Somebody wanted me to play with the audio filter, so we'll try that real quick. If I can find it. You even sent me a video on how to do it, and I watched it, and now I forget because it was last week. Where is that stupid filter at, people? Maybe I need to get out of advanced mode. It says it can hear what I assume. You see the soldering station is on. That might be some of it, but the laptop fan is kind of high pitched. I can hear it, but it doesn't irritate me, of course. But the camera might be picking it up big time and making it awful for people to hear. Huh? I'm not seeing it. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I'm going to go to settings on the mixer. And I went to filters. There's nothing in there. Did I miss anything? It's all boxed up. Actually, we're doing an unboxing. I'm trying to figure out my audio filters in OBS. Maybe I need to add a filter. Noise suppression. There we go. Let's try that. Suppression level. I'm at minus 30 dB suppression level with this filter. I assume it didn't make an immediate difference. Sound is back. Was it away? YouTube says the video output is low. In my opinion, it should not be. OBS is green. Let's see, the bitrate's still at 1000. So I'm assuming if we're having problems, it's Comcast again. I know doing a speed test while we're doing this is a bad idea, but I'm just curious. Wow, yeah, download's fine, as usual. Went right up to 28 megabit, which I pay for 25. At some point I'm probably going to have to upgrade. Nope, bouncing around 5 uploads, so this time it may not be on me. Maybe it'll go back into the green on its own here in a minute. It did make a difference. Really? The fan noise stopped, you can hear me great. Huh. Let's see. I was going to wait and see what we were doing until we had more people. I'm not sure where we're at on viewers. We're sitting at 36 right now. I usually wait till we got about 50. 50, 60 seems average for my streams. Yes, you get 2 unboxings. And it's just a preview of stuff to come, more or less. The mail hasn't even come today. It's 1:50 p.m. here, and the mail usually comes between 2 and 4 o'clock, depending on the delivery guy. My regular guy can be early, and the other guy can be really late. Apparently, in my city, the delivery guy gets 1 day off a week. They work Monday through Saturday, but they get 1 day off during the week. And I think my guy gets Wednesday off. When today's Wednesday, so yeah, I had to check. I lose track of days real easy. My voice is different. It's digitized or really pronounced. No, I've not gotten the soldering iron tip stands yet. Rob at OFS Mods is doing them. And they may already be done, but he's planning on sending me a bunch of different stuff that he's working on. Yeah, the plan was to work on the FDS. Jason House says it's 1:51 a.m. 12 hours ahead? Where are you? We're up to 43, but stream health is still red, video output low. Don't know why. Is my arm waving smooth? Looks like Coke bricks arrived. I don't know why, but everything I get from China is wrapped in this yellow tape. Almost everything I get. Small packages, big packages. It's crazy. And obviously this one's from Germany. If you can't guess what that stuff is. Oh, look at that. all of a sudden stream health is green. We got 45 people watching. Maybe it just takes a minute. You offered to print one up for me? No, I did not see that. I think the one that Rob's making, it's just a rectangle, and it's got cylinders, and I think there's 10 cylinders that are the correct size for that end to sit in like that. And that sounds perfect for me because I got like 20 tips just sitting on the ESD map next to the iron. Those yellow tapes are cheap in Asia. I think the cheapest tape in the US is this brown tape. I think. Because I got some really, really cheap, really, really thin, was it 2-inch tape? 2 or 2.5, whatever it is. I hated it. You could just rip it apart just as soon as you laid it on the box. It was crap. Would it melt the plastic? No. All of the heat is about here forward. So, like the part that's actually inside of your iron, from about there back, that's all cold and safe to touch. So I usually end up using my needle nose to pull it out of the tip, and then I can grab it there. I have to usually lay it on other tips to let it cool if I don't have a spot in the iron holder. Wood filaments? What's a wood filament? Is it just the color of it? I'm assuming it's still some kind of ABS plastic, right? Talking about the filaments that get fed into a 3D printer. I am intrigued though. I think we've got enough people. Yeah, we're at 50 people watching now. So I wrote FDS plus high def NES in the title. Thursday I was talking about working on FDS drives, and I got some pointers, and somebody pointed me to a completely different setup guide. And that guide went straight into messing with motor speed, which isn't really talked about a lot in the guide that I was using on Famicom Discworld or Famicom World, whatever it is. So I kind of said that I wasn't going to do anything until this week, but I ended up working on it on Friday. And I actually got 3 drives. There's one in here. I got 3 drives working immediately. Like, it didn't take me no time at all. It was crazy. Now, they work in an unmodded Sharp Twin. Yes, I'm going to open the boxes. Hang on. Hold on. I want to talk about the FDS a little bit here. So, the guy was saying, obviously, get into the motor with a small flat blade, and he said to set it if clockwise, all the way clockwise was 0, and all the way counterclockwise was 10, to set it at 7. I tried that, and I wasn't really having much luck. And this was with a drive that I'd already put a new belt on. So I got the bright idea that, you know what I really need to do is go back and see where this frickin' spindle head is set at before I take it apart, because I'm convinced the spindle head relationship between the spindle head and the large metal cam that makes the reed head go back and forth, the relationship between those two gets messed up as soon as you move this whole piece off. The reduction gear gets moved, and then the shaft that has a spindle head is connected to this gear, which is on the belt, to the reduction gear, to the cam gear, and that relationship gets messed up. I was like, I want to know where that spindle head sits before that gear is removed, and try to figure out where the relationship is. Well, it was basically where everybody was saying it was, where the flat spot faces the reed head. except mine was tilted a few degrees to the left here, kind of pointing that way. On the one that I took apart, that I hadn't taken apart, I should say. I had a bad belt, but it hadn't been taken apart yet. Oh, west coast of Australia. Okay, I was gonna say, because I talked to a guy in Thailand and he's only 11 hours ahead, and I'm like, how are you? I mean, that's a very, you know, normal name, Jason. I wasn't even thinking of Australia for some reason. Anyway, so what I did is I tried to put a belt on one without disturbing the relationship, or trying to not remove the reduction gear between the spindle gear and the cam gear, and which means you got to feed the belt underneath here and between the big metal cast piece and that spindle. You got to raise this cast piece up enough to get the belt through there, because it's got to go around here, right? Well, no matter, I mean, I tried, the first time I tried it, I slipped the reduction gear off enough that it came off of them. I don't know that you can really do this without that happening. So what I did was, you can actually reverse this. Like, you move it one way and the spindle head turns clockwise, and you go the other way and it goes counterclockwise. So what I was doing was going counterclockwise with it, which counterclockwise on this big gear, and eventually it'll stop because that cam only goes so far. Yes, this is the FDS system. This is the FDS drive. And if you go far enough, the cam, it's got a big flat spot in it, and the reed head, or the head sled is going to hit that cam. You can start to see the cam down there now. Is going to hit that sled and just stop. Like, I can't move it anymore. That's a great place to reference every time, because that's the same place every time, and then set that head. See, like right now on this one, it's like pointing that way. And this is one that works. So, but you can see here, you can just keep moving it, you know. So anyway, now that I've basically proved myself wrong on the spindle head, what I did was I think the one that wasn't working, really wasn't working, the one that I attempted to put the belt on without sliding the reduction gear off. I set the head so where it was pointing that way, and I left it. And of course I cleaned the reed head, but I immediately went and set this at 7, and of course it wasn't working. I can't remember. I think I started getting error 21 and 22 like right off the bat. But what I did do was start messing with the reed head gear. And it moves the reed head in and out, right? And you can move it so much that it actually binds up against the spindle, I think, when it's all the way in. But I consider the reed head adjustment a very, very coarse adjustment, because if you think the disc is spinning, right? So basically what we're going to see is, and because it's mechanical, you know, the reed head goes back and forth based on that cam. So basically, when the reed head comes in like this against the disc, you basically have a reed pattern that is a spiral, and it's just ever going in and 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 in, like that. That's the mechanical part of this. So if you're moving the reed head back and forth, these lines are extremely close together, and I'm guessing you know, one turn of that reed head probably would jump a couple of lines of that reading. So I considered it a very coarse adjustment. But what I found was, you know, I went for it. I went all the way one way and all the way back. And what I found was, at some point, the error changes from 21 to 22. And I think if you're going back, it jumps back to 21. So I found that sweet spot right between those two errors. And I went back and adjusted the motor speed, and they started working. So instead of sitting here trying to adjust that stupid spindle head, because that was the other thing. I was like, why? You know, one thing I never seen anybody say was, do you test with this front faceplate on? Because if you look down in there, the Nintendo logo is right there. That thing, and it's supposed to be like an anti-piracy thing, but when it goes in and down, that is actually locating the shell of that disc. And I seen that shell move. As soon as it came on, I seen the shell move. I'm like, well, maybe I should have the faceplate on there to hold it in place. So and that having this faceplate on makes it almost impossible to get your, I think it's a T6 that I use. It's a Torx, yeah, a T6. And the set screw is what I call it. Some people call it a grub screw. On the spindle head is just I think it's not Torx, it's just regular hex. Oh, I can't even remember. I think it was supposed to be like a metric something or other, metric 3 or 1 or 2 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter. I don't know. I don't remember the exact size of it. I had one and went out to the garage and got it, and somehow between the garage and the house, I lost the damn thing. Oh, I looked for that thing forever, and I still don't know where it is. It's got to be in the grass somewhere. I haven't heard the lawnmower hit it yet, so who knows. So, that's the story so far with getting FDS drives going, other than I took working FDS drives and put them into my high-def NES modded Sharp Twin. You can see the interposers there. I'd like to get a close-up of this because it's really tight to get these in there. And basically, you have to make the CPU poser taller with an extra set of sockets, but you also have to lean it back as far as it'll go to make it work. But there's plenty of room for it once you do that. So I put working FDS drive in here. Cannot get a game to load, even after adjusting everything. Yes, these things are finicky. It's crazy. So there is a couple of things I want to try. This board is actually modified so that the high-def NES will power it. These wires right here going up to the power switch, and the main transistor, whatever power transistor right here, is gone and bridged. So I want a high-def NES mod a board that is not modified, a power board and a main board that are not modified, and see if it's just a power problem, because your RPM speed is, obviously important, and it might be power related. But also, Kevin thinks that these two chips right here that interface to the FDS chip need to work faster, and these are LS, which is the low power slow chips. And he had a couple chips found for me that were F chips, and I don't know what I did with them. I keep looking for them, but that was the other possible fix, is to put F, which is fast. I think they consume more power, but in this scenario it's not going to matter. Oh my, that was a lot to go through. But that's where I'm at with the FDS. So at the very minimum, I might you can see it on my disc. I got a spot right there. Probably where the felt is sitting on it. I wonder if that messed it up. Okay. Yeah, the audio is coming from the top-down camera, but the top-down camera goes to an Elgato HD60 and then to the computer, so it adds 2 seconds of lag, and this is just a webcam. which is no lag, or very little lag. But yeah, it's very obvious when I do stuff like that. Luckily, I'm far enough away from the webcam, and it's just a wide-angle camera that's not that big of a deal. No, these are not EEPROMs. I might as well go ahead and open them up. Obviously, this one's from Germany and this one's from China. So the China one will be a mystery to everybody, but this one might not be. I was hoping there was no invoices inside because there was a bunch of them on the outside. Pretty well packed. Should be for what I paid for it. So I have a bunch of Make Will Scream mods. Marco Willig. I ordered 11 because you get a price discount at 11. But they're still, man, they were expensive. They're like $100. 5 in that one, 6 in that one. OBS will set a delay filter. Yeah, I kind of knew that, but it's 2 seconds. It's not enough for me to really worry about. It's my first time seeing the Game Gear version. Looks like we got a bunch of solder points in random locations, just like the links. Nothing's identified very well. Like that one has ground and that one has VCC, but why not put identifiers on all the other pads? At least there's no, we got these stupid notches again, too. Maybe it doesn't matter on the Game Gear. There's not mounting hardware in here, is there? I'm seeing componentry in there, though. A couple capacitors. Maybe for the sync lines. I'm not sure. I haven't read the instructions yet. That is a resistor. $2,000 ohm. Or maybe 200. Says 2,000 on it, so you still keep the packing materials? What do you mean, like this stuff? Yeah, I reuse this stuff. When people buy stuff off of me, I just put this stuff back in there. Frogging, white dirt thinking. I'm not used to seeing German newspapers though. It's pretty normal. Japanese newspapers, I get Japanese newspapers all the time, and those things are crazy. The German newspaper is going to confuse my customers. It looks like a regular, other than, man, is that a recent photo? That looks like it's straight out of the late 70s US. Anyway, it looks like a pretty normal newspaper. That's the only time I don't keep packing material, right there. God, that shit pisses me off. I hate packing tape over the top of bubble wrap because it just rips it apart. Unless it's good, strong bubble wrap, which that mostly isn't. I end up throwing away a lot of packing material because of that, though. Oh, yeah, I could show that on camera, too. Been saving this. I always do packing material or packing rant videos. This showed up. It's a Virtual Boy controller. I think I've got a Virtual Boy that's missing one. And I opened this up and I'm like, that is fucking genius. Somebody took the time to saran wrap the bubble wrap instead of putting packing tape on it. I'm like, hell yes. And this has been sitting on the shelf for months, waiting for me to remember that it's there and show it off. I'm like, boom. So the bubble wrap is unharmed. I think it's kind of gross. Kind of scuffed up. It's too bad I don't have the battery box on it, but it was cheap enough that it don't matter. So anyway, because of that, I went and got myself some saran wrap. Let me show it to you. I actually went and bought some black saran wrap just for this purpose, and I haven't used it yet. I found this on eBay. It's cheap enough. The handle's kind of dumb. It doesn't freely rotate, but I don't think I should need that. But I thought, you know, that'd be handy for wrapping small stuff. It is fucking genius. I have not yet fixed a Virtual Boy, but I plan to. So yeah, I hope some people get some ideas out of that. It's so easy. I want to say, oh, what is it? I think if you search for packing wrap 5-inch, I think 5 inches is as small as it came in. But I think next it was like 8 or 10 or something like that. I still haven't used it though. So this is something I'm pretty excited about. This is the first PCB order I've made in a long time. And I'm excited to look at this because it's a different company than I've ever used. I was using PCB Way, and Voltar got me to use somebody else. Trying to peek in here and see if there's any personal info. It looks like we're pretty well packaged. My last order from PCB was like this. It's like a bubble wrap backing, and then they vacuum it down with this stuff. I haven't shown off these boards yet. Good Lord. I'm not sure what the hell they did here. It's like they tore down a bigger box to be a smaller box, and there's just tons of cardboard in here that don't need to be in here. Kind of amateurish, but whatever. Don't love it, don't hate it. This project will be what I really rate them on, because this project was assembled by them. No, I've not modded a Turbo Express screen yet. Kind of waiting for Mick Will to step up for that one as well. Feels like they left it panelized, and that's good for testing. If I remember right, I asked them to. So we got 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 times 30 would be 210. I only ordered 200, but right on. Get 10 free ones right off the bat. I was really worried about, in case you don't know what this is the Turbo Duo region switch board that I sell. I'm about to sell out of them, so gosh, it seems like it's been 2 months ago now when I ordered these, but maybe not 2 months, because I ordered right before they had their another yearly festival that they have, and I can't remember what she called it, National Day or something. But Voltar hooked me up with this place, and his boards are made by them. I don't know if it's visible on this one or not. No, I want to say, yeah, there's one right there. I'm not going to be able to show this on camera, I guess. At least not live streaming, but I noticed that there is solder balls sitting right next to some of the SMD components. I didn't care for that, but still not sure if it's the company fucking something up or if it was Voltar's design. So I was really curious to see if I was going to find any solder balls on my assembled stuff. He says they're not a big deal, but some of them were pretty big. I'm like, well, if that thing comes loose, it could short some IC legs together. That's how big they were. Boy, I'm not seeing anything wrong. That's good. I'm not sure if I want to go and visually inspect every single board, but there's not much to check on them, of course. What's Jason talking about? I don't follow. Sometimes it's easier to replace the hole with a modern equivalent because 1 to 4X had a big failure because of it. Maybe I wasn't watching his earlier comments. We also went thinner. This is 0.8 millimeter board. Voltar thought maybe they would fit under the dual metal covers a little easier, which I'm not sure how that's going to work out because it's the pins that stick up through the holes is probably going to hit the metal covers, but I guess if you trim that down, you gain a little, and not much, but a little. Not sure if it'll make install any easier. But I do think in the end they were cheaper as well. The silk screen looks really good. I hear the mailman. Yeah, everything looks okay at first glance. I told him the Hazel was fine on this since they're pre-assembled boards, you're not going to solder anything besides the pins, so that's fine. And somebody was asking about this. This is a project I came up with. It is a replacement PCB for the Game Genie, so that you can turn a Game Genie into a Game Genie adapter. Wow, I did not expect that. Yeah, that'll work. Let's see. Yes, beveled edges, good. Well, they fucked up the solder mask. Sons of bitches. Fucking knew they were going to do that. I even told her not to. I say her because the person that I'm dealing with is a her. She's like the liaison for the company. One of Voltar's RGB mods that you bought was bad. Well, that sucks. That's one of the things I learned very early on with this, is I've got a testing board, and I can why I like the panel, I can just move from one to one and test each one of them. In fact, I test it twice because I tested for US and Japanese operation. Ooh, that might be the one thing that the Hazel does not help with, come to think of it, because my pogo pins sit down onto the switch pads and the power pad, I think, maybe. But they always sit into the vias that are in the pads, but a lot of them are covered up because of this Hazel, which is hot air surface leveling. But yeah, I told them to bring the solder mask down over these fingers so that these little bits of trace are not exposed. That's a pain in the ass to try to get them to do that. I don't know why I have it set in the Gerbers that it comes over the fingers, just enough to cover the traces, but they moved it back on me. I might tell her about that. Maybe I can get some free ones made. That's horse shit. But the whole point is they're the right thickness to go down into a top loader, and then you just desolder the top connector and solder it onto this board, put it into your Game Genie, and boom, you got a Game Genie adapter for almost nothing. because them things are wildly rare and super expensive, and there's nothing inside of them. It's just this. What happens if the fingers are longer? What do you mean, up this way, up into the board? Then maybe they wouldn't screw it up. I don't know. I think I want to say I did not actually design the fingers part of this. I think I found an Eagle library that had the NES cartridge in it. I may have modified the dimensions for myself, but like the actual fingers, I don't think I actually mess with those. I could make them taller, but I brought the solder mask down over them on purpose, and then they pulled it back on their end. Same for the top side, which that doesn't matter because it always seems like it's down here. It's getting messed up. And it doesn't matter as much for these because it's just a Game Genie adapter. I mean, I'm going to be selling this PCB for like, I don't even know, $3. If I had ordered them in a larger quantity, I probably could have sold them for $2 like I did the repro-x. But I ordered 1,500 repro-x boards in order to keep the cost down enough to sell them for $2 a piece and still make a little something. Well, let's see. I can kind of put all this stuff to the side. I'm not sure you guys want to sit here and watch me test these, which should be 420 times 210 times 2. The only thing I wanted to make sure of was that right there. There's been a lot of talk about hard gold lately too. And that was another area with them that I wasn't sure about. I mean, if you order gold fingers, shouldn't they be hard gold? So I don't know if this is just ENIG or if it's hard gold. And nobody's really given me a definitive way to test it. They're like, oh, just slap it in the connector and move it in and out a few times. If it's scratched really bad, then it's not hard gold. I mean, I can see marks on this, but it's not like they're deep scratches. So, I don't know. But I went back to PCB Way. I went back to PCB Way and looked at hard gold versus ENIG, and it was either Nick or Steve said that it doesn't cost hardly anything to do hard gold. Well, that's bullshit. It was twice as expensive. For the repro-x PCBs, it cost twice as much to do hard gold, but what I don't know, were they talking about hard golding everything or just the fingers? I don't know why they would hard gold everything and not just the finger, so it's still a big question mark. Jason, are you docking two consoles together via the adapter on the bottom and the RF jack on the back? What are we talking about? Are we talking about FDS? And he says you likely need to apply the high def kit to the DD disk drive due to way DD functions in terms of power and output. As a power requirement for the RF. Stop. How many inserts do those things before the connection is no good? That's a great question. I'd love to know the answer to that myself. Hard gold versus Enig. And that's the other conundrum is if it's twice as expensive, you know, the customer is going to end up paying maybe not twice as much, but a good portion of that is going to be passed on to the customer, right? Because you figure if you're doing a 2.5 multiplier on your product for your product input versus the sale price, the more it costs, the more the customer's got to pay for it. But if you got an Enig PCB that was $2, you can replace it for almost nothing. So why would you hard gold it? I just, for cartridges that are going to get used a lot, I could see it. For something like this, it's going to get stuck in a left there. I can't see it. It's all a lot of questions that need answers. Still not sure what Jason Howe's talking about. He's asking if I'm docking the two consoles together. I'm definitely not doing that. And I don't know where that came from. Maybe I need to scroll up and see some of his other comments. No, he's still talking about, let's see. Typical failure of CD drives is on the belt. I guess he's talking about the FDS drive. No way around trying to replace the sticking drive. Sometimes it's easier to replace the hole with a modern equivalent. Is he still talking about the Famicom disk drive there? There is no modern equivalent because of the way it was designed. Daniel says he likes the way the PCBs snap in half. That's called V-scoring. If you order them V-scored, whenever they do their panels, you can just snap them off like that. The other way is, what do they call it? I think it's just normal routing, and they'll have mouse bites on them, and those snap off. What they call mouse bites, because they look like a mouse was chewing on something. Oh, man. But yeah, I haven't streamed at all since Thursday because had a wedding in Illinois Saturday, so we were gone all day Saturday, and we had lunch plans Sunday. I don't remember what I was doing Sunday night. But Sunday night, My Life in Gaming streams at 9, so I try not to start a stream unless it's early Sunday. But Monday at lunch, my girlfriend's car blew out these little 90-degree elbows on her 3.8 liter V6. The GM, it's on her Buick LeSabre. And there's two of them, but the top one like broke and just started blasting coolant all over her engine, and so it was smoking and she was freaking out. But she was sitting there running when it happened, so I'm not sure if the car was trying to overheat or not. Is that a surprise adapter for the NES Game Genie? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Steven, were you the guy asking about that like a week or two ago? I've had this project on order for a while. Matter of fact, this is the second shipment of them from a different manufacturer. I ordered these for PCB Way. I think I ordered 100 of them. And somehow I forgot to change it from 1.6 to 1.2, because 1.6 is the normal thickness, but NES cartridges have to be 1.2. So I've got 100 of these boards that are too thick to be used for anything as far as I know. Where was I? Oh yeah. So there's 2 of these 90-degree tubes, and one of them blew out. They're thin plastic. I think they might have fiberglass in them or something. I'm not real sure of that, but like 5 seconds of research, I found out that it's a common problem, and that Dorman/Napa have like an aluminum replacement. Well, Shelbyville don't have a Napa. We have Advance, AutoZone, and O'Reilly's. We had a Napa years ago, and they like went out of business. So I had to go out of town I called around and found a Napa that had it. Had to go all the way to Rushville to get it. I show up, they're like $15. I'm like, sweet, because the cheapest I found them on eBay was $8, but it wouldn't have been here till Friday. So I get home and I'm doing all of it, and I get these little 90-degree tubes out. They look like aluminum, but they're pot metal. I mean, you tap on them, and it sounds like plastic. So I was like biting on it to make sure it wasn't plastic, and it's not. It's pot metal. So I wasn't super impressed with them, but hopefully they'll outlast anything plastic. But I heard the newer ones are like thicker plastic, and they probably wouldn't. They will probably last a couple years at least anyway. So yeah, these things, all they do, one of them comes out of the water pump and one of them comes out of the lower intake manifold, and they just 90-degree into this giant aluminum piece that is the mount for the alternator and the mount for the belt tensioner. And it just goes into hollow tubes that go through this giant aluminum piece, and on the other end, the heater hoses connect to it. It's kind of a clusterfuck, but it worked for a little while, I guess. What the adapter does. Didn't I already explain it? No, I don't have any thoughts on the Analog Super NT Mini. Any info that I might know that everybody else doesn't? No. Kevin's not allowed to say stuff about it, so I don't know anything about it. Nothing more than anybody else does. I didn't order one because I'm not a Super Nintendo fan. And he still hasn't said whether he's going to put the cores on it, which I assume he will. But there's no definitive yet. And I guess we won't know until it's maybe a week after it's released or it's started shipping. Yeah, this is a PCB replacement for the Game Genie. It turns a Game Genie into a Game Genie adapter for the top loader. Top loader adapter PCB. Game Genie top loader adapter PCB. It says right on there. Basically, it's the correct thickness to fit into a top loader. So you take a Game Genie, you take the board out, you put this in there, you desolder the top connector and solder it to this PCB. And then you can put a Game Genie on top of that. Or you could just leave this in here and use that as your new connector. Like if you, let's see, like the Game Action Replay won't fit down into a top loader because of the throat. You could use this for that. I only got 100 of these made because I'm pretty sure this is not really something that's going to sell a bunch of. But I do have a bunch of Game Genies here ready to put this PCB in. So I'll be selling pre-made ones as well. Yeah, the Genesis Neo Geo TG16 cores don't exist yet. And in my opinion, they won't be available for the Super NT because Kevtris is like supposed to be doing the Zimba 3000. Well, why would he put those cores out for the Super NT and kill sales for the Zimba 3000? So I don't see those happening. So I'm just waiting for the Zimba. Yeah, it's possible that Kevin will start working on the cores for Neo TG16, etc. Neo TG16 and Genesis, and maybe some other consoles, and find out that the board that he put together for Super NT won't even handle it anyway. No, the Zimba's not gone. What I think Kevin just posted the other day, the Zimba actually has 2 large FPGAs on it. And it actually, you know, the latest design has connectors for external cartridge connectors and external video outputs and stuff like that. He hasn't posted any updates on the Zimba because he's been too busy working on the Super NT. I mean, he's been doing it non-stop almost this whole year. Retro Media Collector. I assume you're asking me, but if you're asking me stuff, you gotta tag me. Do I still do RGB mods for top loaders? Not really. Because I don't actually do mods for customers at all. You got to be somebody special for me to work on your console. And I haven't bought an NES RGB board in 3 years. The Zimba is not just on paper. He actually does have prototypes. He has 2 prototypes. 2 revisions of prototypes made and working. All the cores that are running on the NT Mini were first running on his first iteration of the Zimba 3000. And he's not full-time at Analog. I don't know where people got that from. He has a regular full-time job in Indianapolis. Nothing better than conjecture. Analog said what on their Twitter? Kevin has a contract with Analog, but I'm sure nobody is spilling the beans on what that contract entails. I know a little bit about it, but I sure the hell ain't going to tell anybody because I don't have the right to disseminate that information. No, I don't think Kevin has plans to put RGB output on the NES HDMI. I really wish he would, but it would take a complete and total redesign. Does this console produce the same picture quality as the original high-def NES? Which console? Pretty sure you've answered this before, but what made you start modding? The top loader, yeah. I've already talked about it in a couple interviews. I found eBay, and then I bought a lot of Nintendo games that happened to come with a top loader. And then I happened to find Kevtress's page about modding it for composite. Do I know any cool hacker stories from Kevtress? Yeah, but I also videotaped him and posted them on YouTube. Man, the first time I met him, he reverse engineered the M82 and made the ASIC replacement for it. Oh my god, I was blown away. It's like he'd already reverse engineered the Famicom box, so he kind of already knew what he was doing, but Man, he just jumped in like nothing. I still just blown away by that guy. Oh, the one in the picture. O.J. Simpson is this same picture quality as the original high-def NES. I don't know what he means by original high-def NES. High-def NES goes into this console. This is just a motherboard from a top loader. The CPU and PP are already socketed, so I can put the high-def NES interposers into it. And by the way, tag me on every comment you want me to read, because I'm skipping a lot here. Yeah, the collaborative videos. Unfortunately, like I said, he's been nonstop with his Super NT project, so I've had no reason to go up there. I've been up there to... Why did I go up there? Went up there a couple months ago. It wouldn't have been high definition related, would it? Well, I guess maybe. No, I don't know. It might have been longer than 2 months ago when I was up there too. Did you have experience in mining when you did that top loader? No. My first top loader was my first mod. Retron 5 videos question mark. What's the question? I've already done some, if that's what your question is. I'm sure that's not the question. Please tag me in your questions at GameTech US, one word. It looks like Arioka is asking me about the Super NT. There's no word on the core store for that. I don't even know. I don't know if they will, because then why would the NT Mini sell anymore? Maybe they're going to wait until all those are sold out. I really don't know what's going on. Oh, the last time I went to Kev's Retron 5. No, I don't think so. I think I've been up there since. Because wasn't that last year, or was that earlier this year? It seems like it was a long time ago. Seems like maybe I went up there 2-3 months ago, and I can't remember what for. But I did come home with some stuff that I haven't shown yet. That's going to be a polished video. I had to get some more parts for it ready. What is Fizzy and Eat It Up arguing about here? Yes, the high def NES downclocks to 60 hertz to make it HDMI compatible. And yes, the NES runs at like 60.00 something 8 hertz. Can you imagine if Keptris and Data from Star Trek TNG were to collaborate on a project? I would say, could you imagine trying to get Kevin's brain into a cyborg body so that he could live forever? Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, the NT Mini has analog output, so it's a different product. True, but are they going to sell NTM Minis just based on that? Everybody's got HDMI TV, but not everybody is a hardcore CRT gamer either. Not everybody. Oh, you can speedrun with the Mini too. Again, very, very limited amount of customers for that. When is the next Drakon modded Livestream repair? Great question. I don't know yet. Can't understand why bother design high defing the NES, SNES, and 64 given that the best they can do is blah blah blah. Because we can do all digital for one, and all digital noise-free output. And because we can is the main reason. The consoles already exist. They don't have HDMI output, and with the mods that they do, and like I said, everybody's got HDMI TVs. Oh my god. Is there any console that you have wanted to experiment with modding but haven't had a chance to yet? Yes, of course. Like, I just recently got to the Lynx and Game Gear McWill screen mods. I've got kits up there to do GC video on GameCube and Wii, but it's the old Pluto boards from whatever that site was, LNKN, LNJN, whatever that site was. They're kind of already, I don't want to say they're obsolete, but they're becoming obsolete. Everybody's going external with that mod. Am I ever going to move into PlayStation mod territory? Like what? I mean, I don't do customer mod work, so sometimes it's more like, why bother? You know, the only thing I would want to do is maybe sell the kit that somebody come up with. And if I do that, then yeah, I would actually do the mod. just so I know how everything works and goes together. Rotwang says everybody's going to want external until something happens. I think that was just a fluke of a really bad design to start with. I don't know if that guy's still selling it, but I'm sure it's done. Badass Consoles has an external connector done, and I think somebody posted a 3D printed connector that was still far superior. I like internal mods, of course, but I can see for the average guy, you'd prefer to have just something to plug in externally. Not have to worry about sending your console off to somebody to mod it and the extra expense of it, shipping and whatnot. I want to say we had to move the crystal to the bottom side as well. Let's see, while the 808's heating up, I'm going to go check the mail. So many, I got 3 packages. My mail guy likes to leave them in these totes. feels like a t-shirt. Oh yeah. If you watch a lot of my shows, you know I'm a Rage Against the Machine fan. So there's a Prophets of Rage shirt. 12 bucks. Man, that's awful thin material. I hate modern t-shirts, man. Well, this is the kind of t-shirt I wear. It's just simple, not stupidly loud, and I cannot find Pantera shirts that are not stupidly loud. Always got skulls, fire, rebel flags, pot leaves. What else? Snakes. All Pantera shirts are just too loud for me. Who's better, Tool or Rage? I prefer Rage. Because there's almost no Rage song that I can't listen to a lot. But there's a lot of Tool that I don't really care for. Like, you know, obviously I'm very familiar with all the Tool songs that are like played constantly, and I do like those. Dirty Bob 6969. How old are you, Dirty Bob? Nobody does 6969 anymore unless you're like 14. Or you've had that ID since you were 14. I remember when the 69 thing was huge. It was all young men that were doing it. But you're welcome for fixing your NES, whatever I did. I don't remember already. I'm sure the rest of this is just stuff I bought on eBay. It always is. Oh yeah, the FDS games lot. Interesting as there was like 6 of these didn't have a shell on them. I got it cheap enough that it didn't really matter. Oh, we've got a handwritten note. Open slowly. Okay. Oh, shit. Ah. Right on it. That's some strange packing. So I don't even think the seller knew what the games were. Like, this is all bought untested. And I can't even remember what I paid for them now, but it was cheap enough that I was like, yeah. It's like this one's been pried into before. Looks like they tried to find a screw right there, and I don't think there is any screws. Yeah, it just pops apart. This one's completely fucked. You know, I'm not real sure how FDS carts. It almost looks like they are almost like they're plastic welded together and like they don't come apart. Obviously this guy went looking for a screw here. Completely messed up the label. And this is like the one game that's worth most out of all of them. Now the case is screwed up. I don't have a clue what these are. I'm not sure if the numbers match anything. It's probably just a generic board too. I'm sure there's no text on them that would tell you what game it is. What is going on in here? Fizzy says my original username was Edgy too. I agree. AK Vance was definitely born when I was still young, like maybe late teens. And it was also my eBay ID. And I actually got a comment from a woman who said she would not buy anything from me based on my ID. And that was the first time I really thought about it. And I was like, it doesn't mean anything. AKA is obviously also known as, because at the time, I listened to ICP a lot. And the lead singer was Violent J. And my buddy used to call me Violent J, and that morphed into just Violence. So he called me Violence. And that's where the ID came from. Oh, Dirty Bob's nest lasted 2 hours before it died. Yeah, we've had a couple of those. Actually, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it went out today. It's sent back to you today. I meant to actually get you the tracking number. If it didn't automatically send it to you. That's an OG Juggalo. Yeah. I was actually at the festival in Peoria, Illinois. I want to say it was 2002. And I had just started shaving my head. And that was the festival that they had it wasn't really riots, but the police were telling kids, like young women, that they couldn't show their boobs. So when police started doing that, of course that upset the young men. And they started getting in a fight about it, and the freaking police tear gassed them. Ran everybody out. It was crazy. I was nowhere near the action at the time. I might have already been outside, actually. Let's see. All right, Dirty Bob, if this is you, there's your tracking number. Does anybody follow the Atari Age thread for Ketris's FPGA-based video game system? Man, that thread has been blowing up. Last couple days, man. I don't even look at it anymore. I just like scroll through it looking for Ketris's post, and that's about it. What's the limit on N64 HDMI orders? And will all the pre-orders go out at the same time or in stages? What's the limit on them? Like how many you can order? You can order however many is left in stock or left for pre-order. And yeah, they all go out at the same time because I get them all at the same time. Greetings from Russia. Are the high def NES known to have that problem? It's a really low percentage, and Kevin thought he had it figured out. I think the first yellow rev, he changed a component on the 5-volt regulator, and I think it reduced the amount of problems, but basically the 5-volt regulator pops on the main board, and I just bypass it. I put a 1.5 amp rated 7805 in place of the original 7805, and then you remove R35 on the main board, and then that way 5-volt is fed to the high def NES through the ribbon cables. It works. Favorite ICP album? Yeah, Bizarre Bazaar was awesome, but I'm probably going to have to go with Jekyll Brothers just because that was the album that I started listening to a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure I was exposed to Malenko first, but for some reason I got a hold of Jekyll Brothers first. So all music to me is it's a sentimental thing. You know, my favorites are what's most sentimental to me. Not necessarily, I know, because I'm not a critic. It's not really about what I think was the best album. You know, their best album or whatever. But you know, I also listen to Hell's Pit a lot. I listen to Bizarre Bazaar a lot. I mean, I only just recently took them off. What's the one with Night of the Chainsaw? That latest album. A couple years ago or whatever, a few years ago. I listened to that whole album quite a bit. Apparently they have a brand new one out, and it's not that great according to my buddy. If you install the high def NES yourself and that happens, no, I've already walked a few people through it on how to bypass the 5-volt regulator. The big thing is you got to check for shorts on the other regulators, because there's 5 of them total: 3.3, 2.5, 1.8, and 1.2. And you want to check to make sure those are all not shorted before you do this. Yeah, I watched the Jim Jeffries show, and all of a sudden there's Violent J and Shaggy getting interviewed by him, which it wasn't really a good interview, but you know, it's a comedy news show, so I actually didn't know they were in Washington trying to repeal this all ICP listeners are a gang BS. But yeah, I agree, it's pretty stupid. What I didn't know was something that Violent J said there. He said, so if like 3 guys are in the park doing nothing, but they're together and they're all wearing something ICP related, they can be charged with gang activity. God, that's just stupid. Oh, it looked like pin 4 was put through the board before they soldered it. Looks like it bent over, got messed up. That's interesting. Matter of fact, I'll be doing the 5-volt bypass on this, just so the original power supply can supply everything and not the high-def NES. If anybody's trying to ask me something, be sure to tag me, like Niero just did. Will I be doing pre-orders for high-def NES like he did with Ultra HDMI? Yeah, as soon as Kevin decides that he's gonna do another order. He's just been too busy. Weird. The CPU wasn't even pushed all the way down when they soldered it in. That made it real easy to get it out, though. You pushed down on it to break it free. Huh. It's too bad that we weren't both like that. That was awesome. Are they Atari or Vectrex carts? The ones I opened up earlier are Vectrex carts. See, look at that. Pin 4 is just laying over. Must have had just enough contact on it for it to work. Yeah, the Metallica Turn the Page cover. I love that one. Was Whiskey in the Jar on Garage Inc? That's another song I love. Never got into Bread Fan. But Death Magnetic is an amazing album. There's your Vectrex cart proof. Someone did a region mod. You're talking about the guy that copied my design? I already know about it. Whiskey was also on Garage. That song is still on my phone and I listen to it a lot. Only 3 songs on Death you thought were classic Metallica. That's what was great about the whole album, is it just sounded like classic Metallica. I loved it from start to finish. But I burned myself out on it. What was that? Was that 2009 or 10 when that came out? Felt it had way too much filter. I can't say they stole my design, no. Like, I didn't design the circuit. The Steve on PC Engine FX forums posted the circuit, which really was off of the data sheet for the chip, but he found it and posted it, and it's kind of what we've been using. But my design of putting it on the HuCard pins and whatnot, yeah, somebody else copied it. I think he's in Canada. Where can I get the HDMI for N64? On my website. Am I the only person who likes Will Smith old raps? And Jimothy says yes. Magnetic was a couple years ago, you think? It was more than a couple years ago. They might have had a remix album or something a couple years ago. I don't really keep up with music anymore, if I'm being honest. Am I still selling high-def NES parts? Yes, parts. We're not selling kits. I have a few parts kicking around. If you need one of something, just email me. With the bent pin on chip. Dude, you're going to have to state your entire question. That's not a complete question. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. I don't feel like scrolling back up to see what else you were saying. see, I actually don't have any interposers ready to go on here, so I'm just going to reuse these. Might have to steal the ribbon cables, come to think of it, because they're extra long. Yeah, I guess I could just put the interposers snapped when you moved apartments. What the hell, bro? Got a picture? Email it to me. Did they snap when you tried to remove them, or they snapped in shipping? I'm not sure what you're saying, but yeah, I've got plenty of interposers. Plenty of spare interposers for parts. Death Magnetic is the case study in the worst mastering of all time. Actually, I have a good friend that went to school for that, and he says, oh crap, what was her name? The Canadian chick. I don't remember the name of the album or the name of the chick. Song name was Isn't It Ironic or something like that. Crap, what's her name? He says that album is the case study of the worst of all time. Wondered if somebody tried to do a region mod with that bent pin on the chip. Are you talking about the bent pin on the PPU that I pulled out? Because no, there is no region mod for the NES. Alanis Morissette, that's what it was. Crap. He says the first Alanis Morissette album was one of the worst mixed albums of all time. Of course, this was 20 years ago when he went to that school, so I don't know, maybe Death Magnetic is the new bad album. So this is R35. Just take that off, and that way the 5-volt regulator is no longer powering the board, and take off your wires for voltage input and ground. You're lucky I've seen your message, Ken. Yes, I'm doing well today, but please tag me if you want me to see your comment. I've been kind of half-ass looking at it and doing mod work. The drummer of Foo Fighters came from Morset's band. That's funny, I didn't know that. Let's see, the PPU does not need special treatment. It just goes in straight up and down. It's the CPU we got to worry about. Another one of those sockets that I pull because it's completely missing one on the end. One thing I don't have time to check for is missing grommets inside of the socket. I think a few of those have gotten out, which I replace them for free, but still it sucks. There's another missing one. It's not even on the end. Weird. How different is the Sharp FDS motherboard from the top loader? It's extremely different. I mean, got your FDS controller chip, some other glue logic because of it. You know, the chips, the CPU and PPU are behind the connector. It's just completely different. Pin 4 did not get completely desoldered. Man, that's not pin 4. Yeah, it is. Yeah, also, I had to solder J5 on the high FDS board, which I've never really talked about that before. Not for a really long time, anyway. Does that make modding it harder? A little, and I'm getting ready to show that. J5 swaps the ribbon cables. So normally, this one is CPU and this one is PPU, but now they're swapped, so PPU to that one and CPU to that one. Just something Kevin added that was easy to do, I guess, and only really have ever used it on this, actually. So now the CPU is the problem. There's another one I pulled for a bent pin. Just happened to notice it before I shipped it out. But we set I have to set this one at an angle as much as angles I can get out of it. It looks like, oh, I've got my regular short headers and then sockets on the bottom of the interposer. I'm not sure that's necessary. You might be able to get away with just socket, socket, then header. This seems a little convoluted, but I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. Oh, you know what it was? I know what it was. The sockets are easier to lay over on the interposer than the headers. I think that's what it was, if I'm not mistaken. I only did the one, and it was a long time ago, so it's hard to remember, but looking at it, that's very plausible. And I want to say I had to stick the entire stack just like this on here and then lay it over to get it to work right, or to get it everything laid over and then solder it. How long do you think an NES will last after a capacitor replacement? Oh, it's a tough question. I don't have an answer for, because I've seen so many chip failures. I may or may not have anything to do with the capacitors. CPU failure is way more common than PPU failure, but also the RAM chips fail. So I don't know. We might be just getting into an age of seeing a lot of failures being very common. I don't know. So that looks pretty decent. And I was going to change this out when I got to. GameTech only does Nintendo mod work. That's not true. Just did Atari Lynx the other day. So apparently this is just more copy protection crap. I'm not sure if I can transfer over just the power board unless it's got the same, yeah, it's got the same chips on it right there. I'm looking for I think we get rid of that, and that goes right there. Nope. God, I have to swap out all the wiring too. Starting to look that way. God, I've got to change my ringtone. Ever since I installed the new music player app that I use, my ringtones are missing, or changed anyway. Back to frickin' default crap. Is that an N64 clone? What are you talking about? This guy, this guy, man, every time I turn around, I don't know what he's talking about. Is a twin family? Yes, this is a twin Famicom. Sharp twin. Come on, let go. This is getting ridiculous. All just so I can leave the high defness main board where it's at. Is there a way to get a hold of a replacement ultra HDMI ribbon cable? Yes, I have spares. If you need one, email me. This is a floppy drive, sort of. Oh, the Jelly Bean Challenge. Man, I forgot all about that. Well, they didn't break it out yet. They didn't make me do it yet, anyway, I should say. I'm betting, I'm betting the girlfriend is trying to avoid it. Hey, it's just more sugar for the kids, and pass on that. So was the secret that Ketris was working on the Super NT? Yeah. Obviously. Should have been here, what, an hour ago when everybody was discussing it incessantly. Luckily, a lot of these screws are the same. Is it hard to get the floppy-based games? No, but it's hard to get them to work. And the problem is this drive itself is not just a normal floppy drive. It's Mitsumi's, they had a name for it, but it's like simplified. The read head just runs off of the same motor that spins the disc. It's just on a cam and it just goes back and forth while it's spinning. It's just kind of crap design, but it's what they went with. sad part was how much memory they got out of the deal. It wasn't that much. The memory mappers are they just blew this system, blew the FDS out of the water. Let's see. I think the long ones were up here, right? It was 1 megabit, wasn't it? 128 kilobytes. I think that's what it was. Replacing with a regular floppy drive. It's not even close to the same thing. It wouldn't work. But it would be amazing if somebody come up with a way to make that work. But I don't think it's physically anywhere near the same thing. Okay. I think I'm ready to try it. Everything looks right. Going to air out immediately. Error 27. I think 27 is the one I could always fix by motor speed. And it does. It still sounds slow. I'm already like 9. I'm back to a different error anyway. But I want to say I didn't change anything on this drive except motor speed. I didn't mess with spindle or head adjustments on the other high definition modded console. Well, this is another reason I didn't want to live stream this the other day, because it's a lot of resetting and trying it again. Back to error 27 again. Man, that aired out way too quickly. Huh. I've never seen it air it out that quickly before. Back to 27 again. Back to 21. Back to an immediate 22 error. So weird. Got to be way too slow. Slowed it way down. So this is one I messed with the motor speed on that modded console, which was high definition powered. Now it's not. These two drives were working in an unmodded Sharp Twin, and I've not messed with them since. I haven't even tried them. Fail, fail, fail. Starting to seem like it's not power. I would say, if anything, that thing was already set to like a 9 or 10. I have an RPM meter. What I need is to know what RPM is ideal for these drives. Because it almost seems like maybe the extra high definition draw is too much. Too much for the entire system. Now I need even more RPM. Does it have the band in the drive? Of course. Do I miss Radio Shack? No. My Radio Shack was crap. Hey, what's up, Abby? Turn the filter on. Do you notice a difference? The soldering station fan and the laptop fan are both running. Some games require the cart version to play the games. Are you talking about the FDS? Because that's not true. The Sharp Twin actually locks the cart cover from even opening. I should get an FDS stick. That's not the point of this. The point is to test whether or not the high defness works with the FDS drive. Appy, by the way, the filter is automatically set from minus 30 dB, and I don't remember if you said what's a good decibel for that or not. Have I seen your videos? Xmods Gaming. I'm not sure. I don't sit around watching or searching YouTube videos unless it's something I'm working on and I need more information about. You had to turn off ad blocker to see the chat area? That's kind of weird. Yeah, the melted belt from the spindles. I ran into that with the last one I did. It sucks. If there's some residue left, it won't work right. Residue, maybe, but chunks of belt I could see messing it up, but not residue. There's really not information on high FDS working for the FDS. I know, that's why I'm working on it right now. Is the PlayChoice palette supposed to emulate a Versus system PPU? No, it emulates the PlayChoice PPU. The Versus systems had different numbers on them than the PlayChoice. If the RAM adapter works with FDS on your mod, then the drive should. I'm not trying to use a RAM adapter in FDS. I'm trying to mod a Sharp Twin, which I believe has all the same stuff in it. How long have we been streaming? 2 hours and 20 minutes already. It's 4 p.m. here and I'm about ready for a break already. Even though I've done 4.5-hour streams recently. I think I need to find those chips I was talking about. These two that are socketed right here. Keftra's found the F versions and thinks that might do it. I've eliminated just about every other reason why it wouldn't work. I just can't think where I would have put those two little chips. I thought I would have left them with the high-def NES modded twin right here, but I don't remember seeing them for quite a while, if I'm being honest. Miss my old instructional video editing good old days. Any chance on making videos on old mod work done and fixing them better? Yeah, if anybody has some of my old mod work, I'd love to update. PlayChoice RGB consoles before the NES RGB days. I'd like to do those again. Old composite mods from, I want to say prior to 2010, there's a chance that you don't have the nice composite mod that I have here. It's possible you just have a bunch of components soldered together and wrapped in electrical tape. You got anybody more chiplets off eBay anytime soon? I've got one sitting here waiting to do video on, and I really wish I would have videotaped unboxing it because it was a nightmare. Reason asking on the home version of SMB, Fiery Mario is yellow and red, not white and red. It does sound like a palette problem, but I am not well versed in the Versus systems. So I don't know if there is a Versus palette out there. There might be. I don't know if the PlayChoice palette is actually different. I just know the chips are different. I still need to add some radiator flush to the girlfriend's coolant system. It's full of water right now, and it seems like it flushed okay. But like the radiator cap is so bad that I don't trust it. It seems like I'm only flushing like the top half of the motor or something, so I want to put some flush in it and drive it around for a few days. Probably give it back to her tonight so she can drive it to work for a couple days. I could have accidentally placed the chips in one of those big boxes of chips. Actually, that's true because I've got a box of like 7.4 series chips that I sorted out from all of those chips that I've had over the years. I just put all the 7.4 series into a big ass box. Because just in case I ever need one or whatever. I think I actually went through them and tried to look for like 161s for like the simple NES mapper chips and stuff like that, and I didn't find much. And it's just cheaper to buy new ones, so they'll probably just get sold off. Noah's talking about the Titler. Yeah, I've got one of those sitting here too that I need to test with the high-def NES. Really unsure if it works. Guessing it doesn't. Especially with all the trouble we're having with the twin. Do we really have an argument about who's the best game company going on here? Nintendo versus Microsoft? It's just an unfair comparison. But there's no need to get nasty about it. Chris Fick channel has been great instructional video on flushing your coolant system. Looks time consuming but great outcome. I watched that video. I liked it except for he put the flush in too early. Like, I think he put it in right away. I'm like, why didn't you flush it with water a few times and get it to where it was clean and then put the flush in? That's how I did my truck, which I still haven't finished that video either. I just haven't put the antifreeze in it. I need to soon because we got at least another week of non-freezing temperatures, but we're starting to dip into the high 30s at one day this week, and who knows? I mean, it's mid-October. We should be seeing freezing weather sometime soon. You flushed your system using his method and it worked great. Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying it may have worked even better if he had flushed it with water a couple times before he put the flush in. And I actually, I didn't take the thermostat out because the thermostat had the O-ring around the outside, which made it easy to do all this. But I actually took my thermostat apart so that was just, you know, hardly any restriction in it. And then that way when the engine is running, it's circling it back through the radiator all the time. And my truck antifreeze was bad, and I actually did flush it a couple years after I bought it, like back in '97 or something. I flushed it out. Is that my full-time job? If so, how do you make money at it? What, working on cars? No. Modding consoles? Yes. Selling kits on the website is a big part of my income. I've been selling quite a bit of modded consoles lately. That's becoming a big part of my income. But I've said it before, but the only reason I can do this is because I don't have a wife and kids, and I don't have any debt. I have no responsibilities. What's a good 40-pin DIN programmer which is not stupid expensive? Depends on your definition of stupid expensive. I just bought a really good one, and I think it was only a couple $100. And I think it's the Chinese clone version. The Zeltec Super Pro 610p. It's not 40-pin. I think it's actually 48 if I'm not mistaken. I'm finding it to be really good. Probably a precaution on not causing rust with just water, perhaps. Is there a question in there? Did I miss your last comment about it or something? What LED do I need for the N64? Where can I get a green one? I only need a couple different colors. I sell the green one, but I have a $20 minimum on my site. Actually, I think the minimum is $19. And maybe it is $17. I can't remember. But I'm not going to waste 10-15 minutes filling an order for a $1 item. But as far as what LED, it doesn't matter. You just have to know what resistor to put with it, depending on how much voltage you're feeding it and what its forward current and amperage are. Plug those numbers into ledcalc.com and it'll give you what resistor you need to put with it. Sometimes the console already has a big enough resistor. Like on the N64, it's actually feeding 3.3 volt to the LED with the resistor, and the resistor is a 75 ohm, if I'm not mistaken, and it's happens to be a bigger resistor than I needed for the LEDs that I'm offering. So they'll still be plenty bright, but less bright than the optimal resistor. Delta X5, are you into repros or anything? I got repro PCBs for sale. I mean, just have a look around and see if there's anything else you want to buy. A lot of stuff I have is sold out, but mostly just the kits and pre-modded consoles. TG16 and Duo region mods are in stock. Those are 20 bucks a piece. Yeah, if you go into the right place, you can buy the LEDs and stuff separately. Cap kits, I sell them separately, but again, you have to buy $19 worth of something. Read somewhere there was a Vectrex-based arcade machine. There's some vector-based arcade machines. I think one of the Star Wars is vector-based. Just recently noticed my EverDrive with my top loader RGB modded has the weird white speck problem like you show in your vids. If I remember right, removing the video transistor got rid of it. If you don't care about composite output or RF output on the top loader. Chat is not updating. Really? It's working fine on my end. Stream health is still green. Still got 57 people watching. 2 hours and 40 minutes of streaming. And we didn't accomplish anything. I mean, we eliminated some possibilities for high def NES and the Sharp Twin working or not working. Well, crap. I've got to find those chips. Kevin went through a lot of effort to find those chips. Of course, he has boxes full of motherboards and circuit boards that he just keeps for this very purpose. Do I own any type of bikes, motorcycles? I have a Triumph Tiger 2007. I did not put a single mile on it this year. Very sad. Need a chance for a high-def Super Nintendo. Oh, I wish. I think Kevin was investigating it, but there's no way to know yet. I think last I heard, he needs to find somebody that will decap chips in order to know for sure. I guess he had a guy that would do it, but backed out on him or something. I don't know. Well, I think I'm going to get off here, people. Chat slowed down enough, and I'm needing a break and kind of done with the stuff I was wanting to do on this stream anyway, so hopefully be back tomorrow, but I can't say for sure. I might actually work on some polished videos tomorrow since I've got those boards in now. But thank everybody for showing up and chatting with me and watching another fail stream. So that's all for today.